from Kremlin, which has rejected claims from European leaders that President Vladimir Putin wants to rebuild the Soviet Union or is preparing to attack a NATO country. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said that Putin aims to bring back the old Soviet Union, but Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov called that not true, adding that restoring the USSR is impossible and that Putin has said so himself. Peskov also dismissed suggestions that Russia plans to strike NATO, calling the idea completely stupid. Moscow says Western leaders are misreading Russia's intentions as the war in Ukraine continues. And now moving on, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is calling for an immediate end to the renewed fighting along the Cambodia-Thailand border. In a post on X, Rubio said that the United States is concerned about ongoing violence and rising casualties, urging both sides to cease hostilities, protect civilians and return to the de-escalation measures laid out in the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords. At least 10 people have been killed since Monday, 7 Cambodian civilians and 3 Thai soldiers, while Bangkok reports 29 soldiers wounded. Cambodia says that 20 of its civilians have also been injured. The latest round of clashes began early Monday after Thailand accused Cambodia of launching a border attack that left 1 Thai soldier dead, prompting Thai F-16 airstrikes and a rapid military response. Thousands of residents on both sides of the border have now been displaced as tension escalates between the two countries in Southeast Asia. US President Donald Trump on Monday urged both countries to fully honor the ceasefire commitments they agreed to in October, while Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has also called for restraint to prevent further bloodshed. And our request now Raymond Vickery, who is an international affairs expert and a former US Assistant Secretary of Commerce, to join us. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Mr. Vickery, for joining us here at NewsX World. We appreciate you taking time out to speak to us. Now, how do you think that, let's talk about the conflict first, and then, of course, what the U.S. has to say on it. As far as the conflict goes, it's clear how Thailand seems to be more powerful in its military facility. It has more force, it has an air force that Cambodia does not have. So how is this conflict likely to proceed with one side clearly more advanced in its military than the other?
Well, thanks very much for having me. It seems to me that this latest conflict shows that you need to have a strategy, you need to have partners, and you need to have principles in order to secure an enduring and long-lasting peace. You know, our President Trump claimed that he had solved this problem as one of the 8 issues internationally that he claimed should give him the Nobel Peace Prize. We know that a number of those claims are simply false because a pause in shooting and killing is not a solution to the problem. What needs to be done here, of course, is to have a multilateral approach from the international community to be able to solve this kind of crisis. You're quite right to say that Thailand has an overwhelming military, but the fact is that when you're in Southeast Asia, as the United States learned to its sorrow, it's not enough to have overwhelming military might in order to be able to win the conflict. So what needs to happen is that there ought to be an international approach to this. This is not a real estate transaction between Thailand and Cambodia that President Trump can come in and say that he solved it. He didn't solve the Pakistan-India situation as he claimed. He hasn't solved the Iran-Israel situation as he's claimed. He's gotten a pause in Gaza, but that's only a pause. So yes, this conflict needs to have an international approach so that might makes right doesn't prevail, but there is some semblance of the rule of law and adherence to principles in order to solve what is basically a border conflict.
Right, Mr. Vikri, now Thailand has issued a statement that a sanctions threat is not going to work in this conflict and they would not accept a third-party mediation at this point in time, clearly referring to Trump. What's the role that ASEAN can now play?
Well, ASEAN is on the ground and has a much better chance than does Donald Trump taking his real estate transaction approach to it. In Thailand, it seems to me, is acknowledging that. And for President Trump to say he ought to get the Nobel Peace Prize in part because he solved the Cambodian-Thailand situation is just wrong. ASEAN can play a role here. There are other organizations out of the United Nations and other places which can step in and provide some semblance of a resolution which has a chance of lasting as opposed to just a simple transactional deal in which you get a photo op and you move on, which has been President Trump's approach. And it's no wonder that Thailand says they're done with that and they want to have somebody else involved. Cambodia was relying on Trump and, like Pakistan, willing to give him all the credit for solving a problem, but it isn't a solution to have a deal made in just a simple photo op transaction.
All right, do stay on with us, Mr. Vikri. I'd like your comment as we move forward as well.